second. Please join us with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone. First item on the agenda is Citizens Time. Is there anyone here in the room that wants to speak on Citizens Time? Anyone online? Moving right along. Second item, we're going to review and vote on some town meeting warrant articles. Number 3, Article 3, the high school construction project is first.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have some folks here that are to present. I know you've heard at least one or potentially 2 presentations from the group, and tonight is our opportunity to take a vote on 5 articles, starting with the high school.
I'm sitting here laughing.
You want me to start?
All right, I'll start. So the chairman of this illustrious building committee is Catherine Blunt, but she's in Texas right now on business. And so you're stuck with the vice chair, and that would be me. And we're here tonight to give you a little demonstration.
Can you just move the microphone a little bit more, because I'm getting old and deaf?
Old and deaf, huh? Is there something I said that you didn't hear?
There might have been a couple things.
Okay.
We're good.
So we're here tonight to give you an overview of the high school project, which we are really very excited about. It's a great project. I wish our architect could have been here tonight, too, because he has done a spectacular job. But you have Terry, who's our OPM, doing a dynamite job. You all know Doug, you all know Eric, and so I'll turn it to Terry.
Excuse me, who's that guy back there?
That's the Godfather.
The Godfather's back there, yeah.
He's the man behind the curtain.
That's the Wizard of Oz.
So again, my name's Terry Hartford. We've met you all before. Thank you for affording us the opportunity to make this presentation. I did send this out this past Friday, and you'll see on this cover sheet. I intend to use this presentation for a host of different audiences, including this one. Tomorrow night we have a meeting with interested town meeting members. I have a Ways and Means meeting with Doug and his committee on Wednesday. We have a planning board meeting scheduled for October 2nd. And I probably don't need to mention that there's a meeting in a week at the high school auditorium that I believe many of us will be in attendance as that's town meeting. So I will run through this presentation. I encourage you to stop and ask questions as you have them, and hopefully between the group here we can address them, and if we can't address them now, I will be sure to provide responses over the course of this week and certainly before the meeting. So with that, you see on this slide here, this is kind of an aerial view of what the school will look like, and I hopefully, does it come up on the screen up there?
Yeah, it does.
It does? Okay. So obviously, folks are familiar with Varsity Field. This is an addition renovation project, so we are going to build a number of new elements into the high school as well as renovate a number of existing elements. And so coming off of Cambridge Street, you come down Dottie's Way, none of this changes. This whole loop road remains pretty much the same. That doesn't change. Will be reconfigured as we move through construction in phases, which I'll show you through. But you can see right here, these 2 wings are new academic spaces. We will build that in the first phase, and once that's complete, approximately 2 years later, students will move into that academic space. And over the course of some of those summers, we will begin renovating certain portions of the existing building. So down here towards the bottom, these are the 2 existing gymnasiums. Those will be fully renovated. You see this building here, this is the auditorium. We need to do a fairly extensive renovation of that space. And once all of that is done and the kids are in here, we will actually demolish all this area right here is existing space. And to get your bearings, if you know where the Burlington Early Childhood Center is, it's in this basic location. So I have other slides that I'll show that are much more detailed than this. This is just kind of from 10,000 feet. So I'm just going to move on, if that's all right. This has been a process that's been going on for a couple of years now. I believe 2.5 years ago at town meeting, $1.5 million was appropriated to do a feasibility study and schematic design. And you see listed here all the school building committee members, and we have a great committee made up of a whole host of folks that are in the town or involved in the schools directly, on school committee, teachers, parents, administrators, residents. I think it's a really good cross-section of town, and so these are the people that have been with us from start to finish. In terms of the project team, Doran Whittier is the project manager. We also, as you are likely aware, the owner's project manager on the Fox Hill building project, which will go into construction next year. TAPE Architects. Unfortunately, Chris couldn't be here. He will be here tomorrow, as well as Consigli Construction. I know Christy Lyons will be in attendance at the meeting tomorrow for town meeting members. Through the course of this process, we've met with various different organizations within town, whether it was the committee itself, planning board, ways and means. I don't need to go through all these. The outreach, to the extent the project is funded, will be fairly more extensive than this, because there's many more boards and committees in town that we will have to bring into the tent, but it's at feasibility, it's not really necessary. But we have had pretty good, I'm wondering, is that an echo on my computer? I don't know. Let me just see if, there. Sorry. We are not necessarily we're not in the Massachusetts School Building Authority process, which is what Fox Hill is. However, the committee, I think rightly at the beginning, determined that we should follow their prescriptive process. And it's sort of a module process that you have to go through. And the first step of that was to effectively hire an owner's project manager. So that was done in November of '23. Shortly thereafter, we, with the assistance of the building committee, went out to the market to hire an architect, and after a competitive process, TAPE Architects was brought on board in February of '24. That then led to, their first piece in Module 3 is to basically come up with educational visioning and programming, and that's a kind of systematic method of meeting with the administrators, the teachers, understanding all of the different programming that goes on in the high school, and that then translates into effectively a space summary, which determines, based on the number of kids that you have, and this school is now designed for 1,100 students, comes up with a space summary that then dictates what we need to do in terms of a new or a renovation. And so over the course of, once that was completed, then Chris and his team, I'd say they had about 15 concepts to start, which resulted in about 12 to 13 different options. We had some new, we had some addition renovations, we had a renovation only. We looked off-site at a building across the street. And then I think we really narrowed it down to 5 options over the course of, into the fall. And then as we evaluated that and moved through that process, refined all of the different potential options, the committee came to the decision to go with an addition renovation, which is what I showed you on that front page. And that was done in April. From there, we needed to complete schematic design, which is really a method of determining the cost of the project. And similar to an MSBA project, this is the time where you get to where you would go to the MSBA for funding approval or a town meeting approval for your specific project. So we have effectively followed that same pricing, that same process. In addition to that, over the summer, at the direction, although we recommended it, we did hire a construction manager at risk, which is Consigli. They have extensive experience building Massachusetts public schools, both MSBA and non-MSBA projects. We're pretty excited to have them on board because this is a complicated project, which I will walk us through in much greater detail in the coming slides. But now we are at town meeting. This is in September, and so that's where we are. And then I put in this one slide here, which is, okay, well, that's how we've gotten to here. What happens in the future? So if the warrant is approved on Monday, I believe the select board needs to convene to call a special election. We've discussed potentially having that on November 15th, but I think that's for the board to determine. But from there, assuming there was an election and it was successful, we basically go into something called detailed design. And the architect will start to draw out the entire new school. And effectively, that will take approximately, call it 12 to 15 months before we can get into position to actually start construction, which is targeted for April of 27. The students would move into that new building by the fall of 29, and we would wrap up construction in probably around the middle of 2030. So it is a very long project. I'll walk you through a number of the phases, but that is where we are projecting things presently. I'll pause there if there's any questions, or should I just keep moving? Good. I will keep moving. Right, so this is, I mentioned the educational program. This kind of shows what we have and where we're going. The one thing where this proposed Burlington High School in the top right is $272,000, but there's also an additional space that I will explain called the Center for Education. But effectively, the existing building was designed for 2,000 students. And that is representative of why you have so many more classrooms. What the new school will have is 40 full-size classrooms, including 12 new science labs. I think one of the big complaints that you'll hear, the science labs themselves are pretty much, I would call them obsolete, in that they're not conducive to 21st century learning. They don't have windows, they don't have operable gas technology to perform labs. It's a space, those are spaces that are...
Safety hoods.
Yeah, the safety hoods don't operate. So in any event, this is that space summary that kind of dictates what we need in terms of the student body. I mentioned, the science labs, and I don't need to read all of this, but a lot of it...
Terry?
Yes.
Can I stop for a second?
Yes.
Do you speak into the microphone?
Yes.
Cat's asking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that better?
I'm sure. I don't know.
Hopefully BCAT will let
Yeah. Yeah, well, they'll let us know, hopefully.
Okay. Another big challenge that we have in the existing space is, it was designed back in the late 60s. Certainly, standards and protocols for Americans with Disabilities Act have changed building codes in terms of making space accessible. If you know the building well, and I'm sure many of you do, there's a significant elevation change from one end of the building to the other that results in these streets. If you think about the ability for folks that are either in a wheelchair or on crutches, the building is almost impossible to navigate. I've said this to certainly the committee. If I had a kid there that was doing a performance, I wouldn't be able to bring my parents because they wouldn't be able to navigate the auditorium because of the steepness of the things. And so it's things like that we need to we need to address. It needs to be brought up to code. And this bit on the right here about the mechanical system. So all the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire suppression where it is, and it's not throughout the building, all those, apart from the fire suppression, those other ones are all original to the building. You can read numerous reports that they're at the end of their lives or useful life, and when one of those fails, because just like the boiler in your house or the water heater, it's going to fail at some point, and when it does, we're going to be in kind of a very tricky spot, because obviously we will need to repair it or replace it. And for those that are unfamiliar with this, once you commit to repairs on a building, it comes into this calculation of, once you exceed 30% of the assessed value of the building, you are required to bring it up to code. And that means you have to do everything that I've mentioned that's part of the new school. So I think some people question the assessed value of the building, which is at $57 million. I don't assess the buildings. I know the building across the street is for maybe a third of that, 110,000 square feet. It's a brand-new building. I think the assessed value is probably right. What I can tell you is that just looking at those MEPs, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, for the new space, that is upwards of $80 million. Add on to that, you actually have to pay people to do the work, insurances, contingencies. That number is going to exceed, $100 million. And so the 30% threshold, I don't even think about it, because anything we do, we're going to hit that threshold, and we're going to be required to bring it up to code. So some of this stuff here in terms of safety, I'll show you on the plans, just having clear separation of passenger vehicles and buses. If you've been to the high school at drop-off or pickup, it's an adventure. It's just very crowded, and I think we could do a lot better based on the design that we have. We've talked about accessibility. I don't want to spend too much time here, but 21st century learning, collaborative spaces for students. We're going to have a connection to the natural environment, which, having windows is, you can read countless studies on how that impacts students' ability to learn. Flexible teaching spaces. I think once I show you the design, we'll talk about simplifying circulation. And that's really, if you have to go from one end of Burlington High School to another, I think I had a parent last week at Back to School tell me that she would FaceTime her son so that he could tell her how to navigate to his classroom, because it's just not a, it's a challenging building to get around, and I think we've done a lot to try and improve that. So again, this is that overview shot, but I'm going to move down here to this proposed site plan. Now, I know people can, I don't know if you've looked at these drawings before. If you follow my cursor here, this is Dottie's Way coming into the existing school, right? And so the main entrance right now is really right around here, okay? And you continue around the space. This is the existing cafeteria, okay? You continue around over here. These are the rocks that are painted. This comes around here. This is still district offices. You don't see the existing building that's here, but this is where BECC is effectively located, right? And then you come around the building. These are the gymnasiums. So does everybody have a sense for where we are on the plans? Because some people...
Yeah, I got it. Took a while, but I got it.
So this tan space up here, this is the new academic wing, right? And it's pretty cool. This is an open courtyard here. This is actually a 4-story building, and this is 3 stories. On the second floor here, there's a walkway that you'll end up seeing in the plans, but I think it creates this great outdoor space, courtyards. All of the academic spaces are in these buildings or wings. And, once this is done, all the students will move into that. And the nice thing about this is that, we don't require a swing space. School will be in session while this is being built, which is a tremendous benefit for everybody, because I think the building committee rightly did not want to put modular classrooms on site or somewhere for years, so that students are actually learning in the building and not in modular classrooms. So once this is done, again, and there's some, I don't know if you watched the video. We can watch it now if you want. It's about 4 minutes. I can pull it up. But it's from Consigli that really goes into great detail as to how the phasing works. But as I mentioned at the beginning, these spaces here will be renovated. The gyms the bones are really good, and renovating gymnasiums is not challenging work and can be done so that it looks or appears new. Same with the auditorium. There's going to be fairly extensive renovations there. Once that's all done, we do need to demolish this center core of the building, and that includes both streets. And we effectively flip-flop the entrance from this general location over to here, and we'll build a new entrance here. We actually introduce a new road through here, and this is specifically for pedestrian, for parent traffic, so this is all drop-off for students. Buses will continue in the fashion in which they do now, but have separation where they come around here and enter their own bus lane here, dropping off into the main entrance, and then they all come out and exit the building. So this space down here, we've called the Center for Education. I'll show it in slides. It includes district offices, BCAT. The Early Childhood Center will move into this renovated space in the cafeteria, and pretty excited about that. We get a little extra square footage, and more importantly, it gets designed as an early childhood center as opposed to rooms in a high school that are being used for younger kids. So pretty excited about that. In addition to that, we are adding a number of high school programs, including robotics, into this space here, and early childhood education that will be next to the Early Childhood Center. So.
Science Center in there?
No. Oh, yes, and the Science Center. Yeah, sorry. We'll relocate that to a different space, but it is in the Science Center. And lastly, before I forget, so varsity field, we looked at a few options. We do have. This is my wife not remembering I have a job. Sorry. Varsity field, we are going to provide new restrooms and concessions, which are not currently there, and I think Eric can tell you that it's a common complaint, and so we will correct that condition so that that improves that space as well. So I've got a couple of bird's eye views. This is from the southeast. So this is Dottie's Way right here that I talked about. This is that new wing, the 4-story wing. This is the 3-story wing. There's that connection between the two buildings. And again, there's that new road. This is the Center for Education coming around. I think if you follow the other ones, this hopefully should make some sense. I have a view from the northwest. This is obviously the flip of that. What you see here is there's kind of a new entrance to the Center for Education. This actually is existing roofing that's there now, and so we will incorporate some wood elements that I think will be a nice touch. You see this new main entrance right here. That's that bus loop that I mentioned. And then coming around the building, you see the new wing here. There's a new cafeteria here that will, obviously feed all the students, and then you exit the space there. So again, I've got some more imaging here just to kind of show you what the school looks like. So there's that bus loop again. You see this clear separation, which I think is important, and moving down. You'll see here incorporating some green roof elements, which is a sustainable feature to deal with rainwater and surface runoff. You see this courtyard that I mentioned, which I think will be a nice addition. Over here is BECC. They will have their own dedicated outdoor space like they do now. Again, just more views to try and let people see what we are proposing. Obviously, the existing space to remain is concrete. And so as we design the building, we have to be very mindful of that so that it sort of comes together from a design perspective. I'm not going to steal Chris's thunder, but it is meant to be incorporated and look something like this. So I'll pause there for a little bit. I have all of these floor plans, which I'm happy to go through. It's really, I'm trying to gauge what you'd like me to do.
I can speak for three of us here. We went there, so I think that would definitely, I think having us, I don't want to speak for Joe or Sarah, but I think if you just sent us the floor plans, we could probably summarize what's going to be. I'm not sure about, do you guys need to see the presentation? Or what? The floor plans are good enough?
Personally, I don't. I've seen this a bunch of times, so I'm good.
So I don't think it's necessary to go through the floor plans. Just
Understood.
want to see them.
Yep.
I do have one quick question at this time. All right. Any plans on solar?
Yes, so right now, what it will be, so there's existing solar on there, and obviously where we demolish the building, we're going to have to deal with that. We've accounted for figures to effectively, we will have to terminate the existing agreement, so that we've carried monies for that. Having said that, the design will be effectively solar ready to put panels pretty much wherever we want, obviously including where it is now, but on any new roof. So, when I look back here, so to the extent, and depending on the size, we would put solar throughout these elements. But right now, it has not been accounted for apart from dealing with what we need to terminate.
One quick follow-up. Did you look at it like geothermic at all? Or?
We did, so we did a life cycle cost analysis to determine, what was best, and geothermal obviously is being used in a lot of locations, but I think a lot of communities are now questioning whether or not to use it because of subsidies, right? So whether or not you're actually going to get the grants through the IRA has been called into question. And I think we came to the decision through looking at this life cycle cost analysis that the air source heat pumps that we were going with was the best solution from an upfront perspective in terms of dollars out the door and over the long term. And so I can certainly provide that information to you because it's a really good question. But we debated that at length with a subset of the building committee, which is the facilities group, because we presented all those options and then brought that recommendation to the building committee, and they voted to go down the path that we did.
One final one. Not sure if you have it in here or if you plan on doing it, but a comparison of what we're spending now on energy versus the savings we're going to have by new, efficient, not
Right.
1960s equipment to show in the long run,
Yep.
yeah, we're spending some money, but post-build, we're going to be saving hundreds of thousands of dollars
Right.
a year, whatever it may be. I just think that is a good visual for people.
Okay. I do not have that in this presentation.
Okay, at some point, I think it would make a good visual for people.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to cost us this, but
Absolutely.
over time, we're going to save that.
Right.
I'm good.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Sarah?
I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess I'm finally wrapping my brain around the fact that the main entrance is moving from where it is now, basically flipping to the other side of the building, Sunset Drive. Student parking is staying in the same spot.
It is.
Is there a different entrance for students to enter the building from student parking? That just seems like a far way for them to have to walk from student parking all the way around the building
Yeah.
to the front.
Yep. So, and I don't know if this is helpful, Sarah, but if this is, so you see here, this is actually the main entrance now.
Right.
You can get into the building through here. There will be,
They will be allowed to do that?
yes, yep,
Okay.
yep.
Okay. And just one other thing, I think the number one complaint I get, well, I shouldn't say number one. A complaint I hear often about the high school is the traffic during drop-off and pickup and just the flow of it. And I understand it's a tricky spot. Was it ever explored to create another entrance or exit? I know it's like surrounded by streets and neighborhoods, so I don't know if that was a possibility or if that was ever looked into.
So there are presently ways to get into those neighborhoods. I think there are two that are distinct that I think emergency vehicles can access if they need to. Realistically, I would say that that was never really entertained, given the residential natures of those areas. I do know for a fact that at events or at parents dropping their kids off, they go into those neighborhoods and drop their children off there, and they walk through those areas, which I don't think is great, but it's hard to control folks' behavior. What I will say is that this introduction of this new roadway here should considerably improve flow of traffic.
And that was going to be my question, or
Yep.
the main point of my question. And I'm not advocating to create an entrance into one of those neighborhoods by any means.
Yep.
But I didn't know if there was any other spot that was explored to ease the flow of traffic. But with this new way of getting in and out, if that's going to help, then that's,
Yeah, no, it absolutely will, it will help. I mean, pick up and drop off right now is a real challenge. I've got photos of buses kind of rubbing up against each other, and, it's generally, it's super challenging. And I think this will be a tremendous improvement on that, just by separating buses and pedestrians. And the drop-off area is considerably larger than what is presently there now. So I think it will be better.
okay, that's all my questions for now. Thank you.
Nick?
Are we getting into everything or just project?
Everything.
Everything, okay. First, I just to kind of, while I have school committee members here, I think to Sarah's point, I would encourage the school committee to try and get as many parents to stop driving their kids to school as humanly possible. I think, it's true. Like, when we talk about traffic, and I know you guys know, right? But like, when I go to pick up my kid, if I have to, it's a mess. And it's mostly just parents picking up their kids, right? We have the buses, right? We've talked for years about how important it has been for every kid to have a seat on the bus. When you see a bus goes by and there's 10 kids on it, and there's at least 60 kids on that route, right? That's just parents dropping their kids off, picking them up, right? I don't know how we change that behavior. It only got worse with the pandemic, and then it stuck. But boy, if we could get kids back on buses, we'd certainly alleviate a lot of school traffic problems just throughout the town in general, not just the high school. And I'm happy to help and advocate and whatever it takes to help make that happen. I don't know what we can do from, I don't know if it's a communications thing. We get that person on it to encourage parents. Put it on the list. I don't know. It's not what we're here for, but it drives me nuts every time we talk about it, because we know what the problem is. We just can't force parents to do something that they're not willing to do. I support this. I kind of support this from the jump. I think that, we're at the point now where we need a new high school. It hasn't been a point of contention whatsoever. I think my biggest question I'm going to ask before I get into the other thing I want to talk about is, I've also heard through the grapevine that the tech is going through the MSBA process right now. Do we have any sense of what our cost share to that project might be going forward?
I don't, I think it's way too, I would assume that there's a percentage that the community has to contribute. I don't know what that is.
John.
All right, so we had a meeting about it with the superintendent up there and all the managers, administrators from each of the towns last week, and they're projecting it to be between in the mid-40s to the mid-50s percent-wise.
Percent-wise?
For Burlington?
For the whole project. That's percent.
40 to 50%?
Did you ask for the MSBA's participation?
No, I'm more curious what our burden's going to be.
Oh, our burden, as of right now, the way the capital works is we're at a minimum capital, which is 10%.
Okay.
But our enrollment has gone up there in the last few years, so my guess is we're going to creep up from the 10% out of the minimum and leave only Bedford at the 10%, and then the way it's broken down from there is percentage of the rest of the four's enrollment. So maybe we'll wind up having to fund between 10 and 20% of the total. I thought you were asking about MSBA, sorry about that.
No, sorry, I didn't, my question wasn't
Patrick must
entirely
be
clear.
bad information.
No, look, I think it's an important piece of the conversation, right? And one that's kind of snuck up on us, right? Because we're like, we got Fox Hill, we got the police station, okay, we're going after the high school, but now Shawshean's got access to MSBA, you know, they're going to go for it, and we obviously have a certain burden that we have to bear as, you know, so that's, all of that's going to kind of come at us more or less at once over the next 10, 15 years, right? So, you know, we just need to be cognizant of that, especially with, you know, the economic constraints that we're beginning to feel, right? You know, that where does that cost, that tax burden shift, right? And how do we put up with it? I still think the project is due, right? But I will say, in the last 2 weeks, since we've kind of like gone public with you know, this going to town meeting, I've had a lot of parents of friends from my high school days at BHS call me with their concerns. Nobody wants to see their taxes go up, right? You know, and as we've talked about over the next 10 years, we're looking at just this project causing, was it $1,200 over the next 10 years, right? And then we factor in the, whatever it was, the $400 for the Fox Hill and the police station combined, plus the typical tax increase due to property value of, you know, $250 to $300 a year, right? So in 10 years, conceivably, we're looking at an additional $2,000 added to what people are currently paying on average their taxes, right? And when you look at the people who are asking me what's going on, it's people who are in their late 60s and early 70s, right, who are starting to retire, right? And they're trying to figure out what their next 15 to 20 years looks like, and $2,000, you know, is a lot to them, right? And a lot of folks have reached out just expressing that concern. There's no question here. I just feel like it's important, even though we all kind of are in agreement and there are a lot of folks that support the project, that we also understand that there are residents who are concerned about the tax increase. Doug. Doug wanted to.
Yes.
So,
With all due respect to taxpayers that are concerned, we should all be concerned. It's a frightening number and it's bothersome. It's a need, and I think we've done everything we can to try to minimize the cost, but it's still a big number. 5 years ago, wouldn't have been the number. You know, we had crazy inflation. The thing I would say is, you're right. You're looking at maybe $2,000 in 10 years, including the regular increases in taxes.
Yeah.
If you add $2,000 to our our tax bill today, we're still equal to or below most surrounding communities. So to some degree, we've gotten very comfortable paying a really excellent price for what we get. When you look at surrounding communities with fees for busing, fees for athletics, fees for this, fees for that, fees for trash, and even minus those fees, we're still, you know, you add $2,000 to our bill and you're getting close to all of the surrounding communities other than Woburn.
Right.
So we also have to keep that in mind and say, okay, we've had a great deal for a long time, and it's catching up a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Doug, everything you're saying is 1,000% correct, right? It's just the perspective of
Oh, it's a horrible number,
Right.
right? It's a terrible number.
Yeah, I mean, and you're right. There's very little we can do to mitigate it or make it suddenly $100 million less.
Yeah.
Right. It is what it is, and there's no way around it. Right. And I fully understand and appreciate that. Right. But when you have folks who call you and they're like, hey, I just heard, and the vote's when and what, and I heard $340 million. How are we paying for? Right. Like there's obviously that hesitance, that comes with originally learning it, and I think it's only fair that we represent those voices at least in the conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, I personally haven't even talked to the business community to know, how they feel about it, right? Picking up 60 cents to every dollar that, kind of comes in, right, is a burden on them too at a time where look at the Oracle property, right? It's still under Oracle's ownership, right? So now they're sitting on that land, they got to figure out what to do with it. And it's like, well, geez, now you guys are building $300 million worth of a school. How does that play out for us? So I think that, we have to just be cognizant of all the pieces on the chessboard. I know that you guys are. There's no doubt about it. I think it's just, as we bring people into the fold to make that decision, they need to understand it too. Otherwise, it's going to be an emotional reaction to say, I don't want my taxes going.
Sure.
Right. Make it work, until I'm, out of here. So
My other response is, and it's, there's a group of us whose kids went through the old high school when it was old, and they're not going to go through the new high school when it's new. There's a big group of people that benefited from the brand-new high school and all the brand-new things, and now it's time to do that again.
For sure. And Doug, as somebody whose 4 kids are going to absolutely benefit from this high school,
Yeah.
right? Because if it's open in 30, right, my oldest will graduate, I think, in 32, right? So, I mean, all of my kids will experience,
Sure.
the new high school, right? And a couple of my kids will even experience new Fox Hill, right? So, I mean, that's fantastic for my kids, right? And I mean, as somebody who went to the high school, and like a bunch of new stuff was put into it as I left, right? You always look back and go, damn it, why wasn't it me? And there's always that ebb and flow.
And we're never talking to each other. We're talking to who's
Absolutely.
listening.
Yeah, this
which
is
the
a
important
conversation for
part.
everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the most important thing a town's ever going to buy.
Yeah.
The most expensive also. And you have to buy a new one every 50 years or so.
Right.
And it's been 60.
God help us in 50,
Good, Nick?
Yeah.
Christie, do you have something? Sure.
I just wanted to add that the value of a high school, a nice high school that attracts newcomers as well as the people that are already here, adds a lot of value to the town. And when I moved to Burlington, my house cost $33,000. I look at some of the new houses out there today, and they're $2 million and more. I think that whatever this costs us, it's a couple $100 on a quarterly basis when you pay your tax bill. And yeah, I don't want my taxes to go up either, but I know we need a new building. And I think the value that adds to my little old house that was $33,000 is a lot more than what it's going to cost me. So I hope people will be understanding of that and recognize that even though sometimes you hate to pay it, you do reap the benefits town-wide of having such a nice new addition to the town.
I don't know if you can get a shed for $33K these days.
I know.
Mr. Morini, do you have any comments you want to add? I'm also good. You guys have been making the rounds, working hard on it. I'm very thankful for your efforts. I'm in full support. I think we've needed it for a long time. So I am.
Can I add?
Oh, sure.
Just to add to the conversation about the costs and concerns, and I certainly acknowledge that this is a big number, and this will impact every household and business in Burlington, which is really hard to wrap your brain around. Totally valid concerns. I just want to make the additional point of whether we build new or not, we still face significant costs just to maintain this 50-year-old building that is already not meeting the needs of our students and staff. So when the HVAC fails, which is soon because it's at end of life, Those repairs trigger code compliance issues, and the cumulative cost of all of those upgrades and bringing it up to code will be almost as much as a brand-new building without any of the long-term benefits or value that it adds. So I think that's an important point to communicate to folks. Totally understand the concerns about the cost, but whether or not we do this new building or not, there is still going to be costs, and our taxes are still going up. So I also support this, strong, like Chris was mentioning, strong schools protect our property values, attract families and businesses, and this is not just a space for high school students and staff, it's a community center. It has a lot of community benefit for, PCAT, school administration, science center, and events that take place at this spot. People use this as a meeting spot. They walk around it. They do really utilize the space as a full community. So I do support this. I understand the concerns about cost. This is a big number. But we are at, if not now, when? We say no to this now, we still have this building that is not meeting the needs, and I'm worried that we're failing our kids and, it's not equitable with the towns around us. All of these different towns who have made the investment and chosen to either build new high schools or major renovations. We see it all around us, and that our kids are stuck with this big concrete monstrosity. So that's all I have to say. I support this.
All right. JD, anything to add before we take a motion?
I don't, Mr. Chairman, there is a question in the chat.
Sure.
This is from Mrs. LaRue, and it was asking, could identify the cost of the Center for Education separate from the...
I don't have that to hand, but yes, I can get that to you. I mean, it's somewhat complicated, right? Because we're renovating a whole host of spaces and we're building new. But yes, I can get that.
I'll ask him.
Through the chair, I would just...
Yeah, sure.
It is a question that we looked at and we've talked about. One of the problems you run into is that the Center for Education is still housing programs that the high school is responsible for or has taken responsibility for, like BCAT. And certainly the Early Childhood Center. We would have to do something with those. To use that building, we're in the same triggering the code updates. So when you cut it apart from the old building that will be demolished, you have to bring electricity to it differently. You have to upgrade the plumbing. You have to provide it with HVAC. And so we're still back to renovation of that was done at a different per square foot cost, and it's a pretty good deal to end up with the space that we'll end up with.
Terry, did you have more you want to present, or?
I'd like to clarify, which I think you're all aware of, and I think it's important.
Just to the microphone, please.
Oh, yep. I'm pretty bad at that. When we originally put the warrant to you all in mid-August, that number was $340 million. Through subsequent design reviews with both Consigli and TAP A, we've refined that number down to this number that you see here, the $334,769,880. I believe the school committee, I'm not exactly sure how it's done at town meeting, will make an amendment at town meeting to reflect this number and not the $340 million.
We're already under budget.
Mr. Chairman, we've corrected that through the motion. We needed to change the motion anyway. We get it from bond counsel, so the corrected amount will be in the motion.
So do I need to print anything out, or no? We're all good. Great. Thank you.
Good. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thought there was more to the slideshow and everything else.
Yes.
But Mr. Spayo told me that we're going to take a vote at this point instead of going through the rest of it. And that's why.
If we're ready.
I don't have much, and I can touch on it because
That's up to you guys, because
Yeah.
I'm going to wait till the end before I say anything at all. That's what I'm going to wait.
Why don't you finish
I'll
up?
just
Finish, or
Yep.
I thought it was, that's what I thought.
So on this Ways and Means projected tax impact, I think somebody said 1,200. So that What this shows here is an approximately, if you look over in fiscal year 2032, 1183, that is on the basis of, expending the entire budget and the impact that it would have on a mean property value of $780,000. And so there's that.
Less for something.
Yeah, so, obviously, if your home is assessed lower than that, your tax bill is lesser than that. We also have a slide, which I didn't include, and maybe I should, how it impacts based on your assessed value, so that people can quickly see how it impacts them. So I can add that. But that's just a graphic that we've shown. And this last slide here is,
We lost the slide.
We stopped sharing.
oh dear. Oh, boy. All right. How did that happen? Share. Window. Boom. Share. Boom. What if town meeting vote fails? Obviously, a lot of time and effort has gone into this feasibility study and schematic design, and the town graciously funded $1.5 million to get this work done. Obviously, if the vote fails, that money won't necessarily have a tangible result. And to the extent you kick this process off again, especially pursuant to public procurement law, you're going to have to start over again. It's not going to be just take what TAP A or Durham Whittier, because maybe it fails for reasons that they don't like the project that we have, and you'll have to do it all over again, which is not something that I think is in the town's best interest. When it comes to construction, right now we're in a favorable market where costs are coming in under budget, which is great, but overall, in history, construction costs go up. They don't go down. So you're going to be faced with that over the course of, as time moves on. I think the MSBA grant, I know a lot of people have said, well, why can't we just wait? Well, you can wait, and you have no guarantee that you're ever going to get into that program, and you have a couple, I think, hurdles to getting into the MSBA program. One is the proven 13 years of not being accepted into that program, and that is primarily due to it is a competitive grant process, and there are numerous high schools that are experiencing overcrowding to the extent that it directly impacts their ability to provide their educational program, whereas, as I've mentioned, with this school, it was designed for 2,000 students. The space isn't the issue, and that's not going to change based on the enrollment projections that we have for this population. The other thing added to that is, I'm not aware, and I know TAP A isn't either, or our firm. You're in the grant program right now with Fox Hill. Communities don't get multiple grants at the same time, so that project will conclude in 2029, which is another 4 years from now. You could potentially say, okay, well, we'll get in there, but that's another 5 years, and 5 years of escalation at, say it was this project with $335 million, that just keeps going up. And so I think there's a real risk of hoping. Someone once said, hope's not a strategy. So, I talk about the code compliance. I think we've addressed that through the course of this discussion. And, the last one is, the proposed project represents the building committee and school committee's best solution to bring the facility up to modern standards in a 21st century educational environment. And that's, I think, how this group feels, and it's been a real pleasure working with the whole team over the course of the last 2 years to get to this point. So we're looking forward to, and I appreciate the support that folks have mentioned here. I'm sure everyone does. And we're looking forward to the meetings that we have tomorrow and Wednesday, and ultimately town meeting next week.
Okay, Joe.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, waiting till the end I agree with what everyone says. I'm definitely in favor of this new project. It's time for this school to be built. It's a very, very big decision for us to make, to go to town meeting and hopefully get it passed through. I don't see why a resident in this town wouldn't approve this with what it's going to bring to the town as far as value goes, as far as your house goes. Yes, it's going to cost each one of us a lot of money. It's cost every single person that lives in this town something, whether you're a 10-year-old child or whatever. Someone might have to say, listen, we can't get this because the taxes went up this year. Whatever it's going to be, it's going to be. But if we wait longer and longer to keep doing this project, the last 5 years ago we talked about it, how much money was it at that time? Now we waited 5 years, now, once again, it's back up again. If we wait another 5 years, it's back up again. So my thought process on this is to have the residents really think about this, have town meeting really put their heart and soul into this, and vote in favor of this article. I think this is something that we really, really need to do to benefit the town in the big picture when we're not even going to be here anymore. I won't be here. I'll be gone in whatever it is, from the board. I'll be gone in 2 years, but, we won't be sitting on this board when it's done. I won't be sitting on the board when the police station's done. So I think it's time for this board and for the town meeting representatives to go forward, put this through, and let's get it done and end this conversation. That's all I have to say.
Good job. Any final questions or comments? All right, I'll take a reading of the motion that isn't in there.
Is it just supporting the article?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion to support.
But isn't there a motion? No? No, okay.
No, it's just support the
All right.
article.
I'll make a motion to support Article 3, the Burlington High School construction project.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Chair's also an aye. That's 5-0. Good luck.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work. Moving right along, Article 12, amending Article 8.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have Mr. Reamer and Mr. Fremont Smith here from Nordblom. The Article 12 is a zoning article that changes the zoning for a property on Middlesex Turnpike at 129, 131 Middlesex Turnpike. They've been here to discuss this with you before, and they're back again. We also have Attorney Lisa Mead, who will be sort of kicking this off for us to sort of give you the who's and whys and what we've done so far and why we needed to do what we did.
Okay, thank you. Attorney Mead?
Thank you, John. Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the board. As you indicated, there is a proposal to change the zoning at town meeting. This is a change to the 3A zoning that was adopted just about a year ago. And this is at 129, 131 Middlesex Turnpike, so it was the kind of the place that we thought that housing could actually be built of all the RM zones that were rezoned. So this proposal, which I think you've probably heard before, is to allow 188 units. Under the existing zoning, you're allowed 57 units per acre, so you'd be allowed about 60 units, so it about triples the ability to get units in this district. It allows the height of 70 feet, where the existing zoning allows 45 feet, so they're doing it in a more dense, compact way. This also has an exception to allow 70% impervious area on the site as a more generous impervious area. And it does require 15% of the units to be affordable. So this is the only district that allows a 15%, the rest is 10. So it would allow 15%, which is the same that's in the existing zoning right now. That would all be subject to site plan review, but because of the increased density and the increased height, we were asked to try to negotiate a development agreement with the developer to say, okay, you're going to get a benefit from this, so what benefit is the town going to get in order to allow this kind of dense development to happen? And so we have been doing that for about 6 months, I think, maybe, the development agreement. So a couple of things I think I'm just going to go through the highlights. You all have a draft of the development agreement, and please, Bob, if I'm incorrect, please correct me. But if
I wouldn't do that.
I know, right? So, first of all, it limits the development to the plans that are proposed, and so the plans become an exhibit. So you can't develop something other than what we've all seen in the conceptual plans. Obviously, they're concepts, but that's what the end product needs to look like. The one thing that's missing from the exhibits that you have is the concept site plan, so that'll be added, but you all seen that concept site plan. It incorporates the requirement of certain sustainability design standards in the project, and it requires them. So it's going to be LEED certified. They have to have at least 20 electric vehicle charging station and another 20 EV-ready stations. They have covered bicycle parking and storage area for the bicycles inside. The roof has to be structurally designed to accommodate solar, other alternative energy systems. They have to use 100% native plantings and drought and salt-resistant landscaping. They have to analyze the feasibility of reusing the roof runoff for doing watering and landscape watering on the property. They'll have an O&M plan for pest control. Some of this is standard. And then they have to undertake a tree inventory to identify all the trees that are over 6 inches in diameter breast height. And for every one of those, a new 3-inch diameter breast height tree will be installed on the premises at a 2-to-1 ratio. So there's some trees that are going to be cut down, but the group made sure that those would all be replaced. Importantly, the developer will agree to help out with some public realm improvements. So what is that? So the idea was to look at this area and create it more as a neighborhood, a connection to 3rd Avenue across Middlesex Turnpike, allow a public access easement through the property over to Great Meadow Road, and allow a shared use path starting at Middlesex Turnpike all the way down Great Meadow Road to Mall Road. So you could literally walk across from 3rd Avenue, have an entrance into the site, cross the site, and then use the shared use path. So the question is, how do you pay for that? Well, you might know currently that Melissa applied for a grant to do the construction of that path. So if that grant is awarded, the developer will pay for 100% design and construction drawings for that path. And in addition, will provide the town $100,000 for other connectivity planning related to the path and other connectivity needed around the town. So that's option one. If that grant doesn't get approved, then the developer will pay for 25% to do a broader improvement, probably a $3.5 to $4 million project that includes improvements at both of those intersections that I just talked about, as well as the crosswalk, as well as the shared route youth path, and we identified some other areas. So they would pay for the 25% design. The thought also is that sometimes these MassWorks grants then pay for the remainder of the design. But if the MassWorks grant will not pay for the remainder of the design, the developer will pay for 100% design on that project, and including the $100,000 to the town for other connectivity projects related. So that's item number 2. Then item number 3 is, if that doesn't get approved, the developer will pay 100% design for the public realm improvements and provide $100,000 for connectivity. And the timelines to do that are outlined in the development agreement. So that's a pretty good public benefit, I think, that everybody agreed would be beneficial to the community. So the other thing that is important along here, when you go through site plan review, you're required to do standard traffic studies at immediate intersections. This includes a broader traffic study with broader intersections. And so the agreement is that they would undertake those as part of their site plan review process, that broader spectrum. In addition to the other improvements that they might be required to make as a result of that traffic study, they would agree to update the adaptive traffic signals that are necessary along that corridor to match the town system, including purchasing the hardware and software upgrades. So that's part of the agreement as well. And then they're going to be required to provide a community room in the new building of at least 2,400 square feet, which will be able to be used by the public on an arranged basis to include community meetings, art shows, and things of that nature. So that will be available to the public. And then this will have a notice of development agreement that will be recorded. And then, therefore, it would be applicable to whoever owns that property moving forward if the zoning passes. So if the zoning passes, the development agreement gets recorded, the notice of development agreement gets recorded, and that will control that property moving forward, because once the zoning passes, anybody's going to get the benefit of that increased, more dense zoning. And what's left to do? What's left to do is the planning board has to approve the zoning proposal at their hearing. I believe they have a special meeting on Thursday. There have been some representatives of the planning board have been part of this process. And so we'll see what they do on Thursday, and then it has to go to town meeting to be approved as well.
Mr. Buckley?
Mr. Chairman, for the record, Robert Buckley, Raymond Bronte, Todd Fremont Smith from Nordblum. I was impressed. He didn't look at notes once. That was pretty
I finally understand it.
But there is an intangible that I would like, that's not part of the agreement, and I think, but a number of the board members brought it up. By doing this and creating the interconnectivity in that area, I think you just alluded to it, Joe, that you're creating a vibrant pedestrian area that will enhance the values of all of those properties. Not only this property, Todd can talk to taxes if you want, but all of the properties will become more valuable because there'll be synergy between all of the commercial development there, which means it will be competitive for people to want to be there, which supply and demand, property values go up, your tax rates go up, so it's good fiscal planning and it's diversity, which means it diversifies your marketplace, so you're not looking just at lab or office or other areas that may be not as vibrant right now, but it's the old field of dreams. You build it, they will come. So if you create the amenities, which they did when they did Third Avenue, people came to town. So the intangible that came out of this exercise is that we believe that over time, the value of the properties in that area will increase dramatically, which means more tax revenue for the town and more desirability for the town. And I didn't get notes either.
Can I just add something to that?
You sure can.
Sure. So I think that was a great summary from you both. I think in terms of community benefits, the reason we're focusing so much on this shared use path in Great Meadow Road, which would basically bring people from Middlesex Turnpike all the way to Mall Road, as Bob said, it really increases that connection between multiple different properties. If anybody's tried to walk that street at any time, it is unpleasant. There's spots with no sidewalk. It's very tight. The cars are speeding right by you. So a walkable path would be great. It would decrease reliance on vehicles in that area. You could walk from restaurants over at Third Ave to the mall and back. So I think that would really, it's a benefit for the community as a whole. It's a benefit for that property there, and it's a benefit for the businesses all around. So, and it also has the potential to create even more opportunities for connectivity across and beyond that area. And I think that's kind of where we requested that extra $100,000 to see what else can we do there to really bring this area to life and to be more connected. So that was kind of the idea behind really focusing on this particular community benefit. But there are a variety of them within this development agreement, and I'm grateful for the team, for Lisa, those on the planning board and economic development, and for the proponent for coming together and being able to come up to this agreement. So thank you.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of interest. I mean, we've done studies that if you use this site as the nucleus or the center, and you look at Wegmans and the Burlington Mall as 2 points, it's a 5-minute walk either way. So it's really it's going to be very convenient. So it will enhance.
Any other questions from the board? Jim?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The true concerns I've heard from other people are 70-foot height and water usage. So correct me if I'm wrong. I went down there today and looked at the site. The grade from Middlesex Turnpike down to Great Meadow Road, it's a very, very steep grade.
4 feet.
26 feet, yeah.
So when you envision 70 feet on the backside, the Great Meadow Road side, take the, what'd you say, 26 feet?
Correct.
Right, so 26 of that feet, 26 feet of that building won't be seen from the turnpike.
That's correct, and we wanted to spare you the 90-slide PowerPoint tonight, but we've studied with Stantec Architects very carefully the way that this building will relate to, say, Boston Interiors and to the Archer Hotel on Middlesex Turnpike, so they'll just line up. So you'll pass into this new district on left and right, and all the parking, not all the parking, but the vast majority of the parking, because we have 26 feet below the building, we can do a 2-story structured garage under the building and put the vast majority of the cars under the building.
So my point with saying that is I encourage people who have that concern to go down there and look.
Yep.
I went down there and looked. Not only is it a drab, overgrown, dark area, I think putting that pathway in will also improve line of sight for vehicles and passengers, pedestrians. It's 2 commercial buildings built in, what, the 60s or 70s?
60s, yep.
And the other concern, the water concern, yeah, they're 2 commercial buildings built in the 60s and 70s that have 60s and 70s plumbing and fixtures, which are much less efficient than the plumbing and fixtures today. So we're replacing 2 commercial buildings with old fixtures, old water usage, and we're replacing with new, high-efficient, or they'd be replaced with new, high-efficient plumbing and fixtures to offset, I mean, they're the big concern. So sometimes you just have to kind of explain that to some people who think, oh, here we go, water issues again. No, you're offsetting this with that. So that's all my comments about that.
Jim? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, it's funny to add on to what Jim's saying about water usage, right? I think the biggest problem we have are people watering their lawns when they shouldn't be. Efficient toilet usage and showers are not the thing that's the boon that we're fighting against here. There's a certain sense of irony, in that, we'd be adding 188 units and the water usage there are probably lower than, pick a street in town where they're watering their lawns too much. When this first came to us, I believe it was 6 months ago or so, I had a natural hesitancy, right? 188 units is a lot, and obviously it's not zoned for that, right? But the more that you look at it, the more that you can see the benefits to everyone, which is why I appreciate all the effort that went into this development agreement, because it shows that everyone's willing to work together to make this work. And for that, I appreciate everyone's effort in this beefy document here. I think what I've heard and what I continue to hear is this does make sense location-wise, right? And when we talk about, so we talk about the high school, the shift in our economy, right? If we're seeing less people going to offices, right? Or even businesses trying to find places where their people can live and work, right? Then having additional units available for people does make sense in the grand scheme of the picture that we're trying to paint here, right? It's not that everyone on our street gets in our car and drives to Boston every day, right? I work from home, and my office happens to be in Burlington, so I don't. It's 3 miles away, and I go in maybe once a week, if that, because I don't have to, right? Half my team's in Denmark, half my team's across the U.S. So what's the point? The office is great when we're all getting together, right? Obviously, certain businesses require more day-to-day face time, and that's fine. But we're seeing the shift. And if we can have 188 units worth of people supporting Third Ave and supporting the mall and supporting the Vinebrook Plaza, right? Why not? Right? Why not build the economy that way too? The days of dropping in a couple giant office buildings and calling it a day are gone, right? And we can't assume that's a functional way to move forward in its entirety, right? So I think the path forward now, as we've been talking about the last, I'd say easily 2 years, is the diversification of our economic model as a community. I think this works to help achieve that. I will say I was bummed to not see a footbridge over Middlesex Turnpike. I think like when we talk about pedestrian connectivity, right, a truly safe path for people to cross Middlesex Turnpike, I think, is the next step for our community, one way or the other. Like if we truly want to start making, this is going to sound like a weird thing, really to Burlington folks, make Middlesex Turnpike walkable, it's not going to be along Middlesex Turnpike. It's going to be at certain points, creating that path from one place to the next. I might be wrong. Maybe I am. But it is a hill I'm willing to at least stand on. You have my support in this. I'll be curious to see how planning board feels. I know they postponed discussion to see how we were feeling about it. I think the development agreement is fair, and the project doesn't necessitate the need to see a plethora of 200-unit buildings across the landscape of Burlington. I think that we have the right partner to do it with. So my 2 cents.
Chairman, can I make 2 quick comments? Sure. The days, I can remember, there may be some people here who remember it, 15 years ago, when an entity or corporation or an office user would come to my office, they would say, we have to be in Burlington, we need a Burlington address. Those days are over. When I come to the office now, they say, we need a place that our employees want to be, can live, work, and recreate. And today is a Monday. Go down to 3rd Avenue and go into some of the restaurants on a Monday. They're busy, which is a good sign. So the employees drive the marketplace today. And I had a partners meeting today where we talked about how do you get people back in the office. We're giving up. You can't. You know, it's become a recruiting tool. Can you believe that? It's a recruiting tool. You only have to be in 3 or 4 days. So that's the reality of the world today. And the second is, we spent a lot of time negotiating this. The second, in some respects, if the first grant fails, think proactively and think big and say, what other municipal improvements can we go after, such as, is there something with water we can do that we're now satisfying what the state is looking at as a major policy objective, building housing on an approved MBTA site. And town council will tell you that a lot of towns never will build on the sites that they've zoned for MBTA zoning because they just don't exist, right? So here we're advancing policy, we're creating economic activity. It's a competitive process for these grants. We saw it with the MWRA. The reason the grant was awarded was because you were proactive on housing, not commercial, housing. So you have a lot of cards on your side of the table now, and hopefully as we go forward, we can work collaboratively together to leverage this into a corridor-wide improvement that enhances the attractiveness. And with that, I'm going to be quiet.
Joe?
Well, I'm definitely in favor of it. I think it's going to be interesting to see what the planning board does on Thursday night, or when the night they do meet. I don't think this is much different than the high school. I think that this is time that the town steps up and lets this happen. I know as far as cost goes and all that kind of stuff, it's a different, we're not paying it, they are. But this is the future. This is where we're going. These are the roads we're going down. Nick said it right, when there's no more, more buildings going up, it's all about this. So this is all part of it. I think we're ahead of the curve, and I think this is good for the town of Burlington.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. So I have some hesitation here. Looking at the limits, we just approved that MWRA at 57 units, 45 feet. And now looking, boom, we want to triple it, and then go to 70 feet. But what gives me pause is that we need the housing, and it helps the economy grow. It helps our businesses stay viable. And the partner that we have here puts me at ease. Everything you've done, Bloom, has been first class. 3rd Avenue is a model of mixed-use development, a model used all across the country, probably across the world. So those things put me at ease. So I'm going to be in favor with hesitation, but I can just hear it now next week. What are you going to say to those people in town meeting when they say, the ink is barely dry on this MWRA thing, and there you go, blowing it up, tripling it? I can just hear the dissension or the opposition. What is your justification? What are you going to say at that point?
I think the way we look at the site, it's a combination of a few things. One is we think the zoning was too light to begin with. We think the 30 units an acre was too low a number, and we attempted to insert ourselves into that public process, not being voting members of the community. Our comments were heard, but, so there's a little bit of the zoning was a little too light on the front. I think the slope of the site allows for a greater density while still putting all the parking underground. So our site plan, if we're successful with this program, we'll have 20% more open space than the existing office buildings. We're going to be above 40% open space. There's actually a reduction of traffic, 15% reduction in peak AM traffic, 12% reduction from current office use in peak PM traffic. Surface parking will be reduced by 74%. These are all according to Frank DiPietro at VHB. So, and as someone mentioned, all the systems, all the drainage will be brand new. We're actually targeting passive house construction. So beyond LEED, it'll be Burlington's first passive house building, which is a very high European standard. So the environmental and open space and surface parking impact of the building that we're proposing, we think is appropriate for the site. And we're working with really good architects out of Boston, Stantec architects out of Boston, Copley Wolf landscape architects out of Boston. So we've brought together a real terrific team to design a beautiful building. And frankly, we think it's just an expansion of Third Ave. It's a horizontal expansion of Third Ave. We've got hotels and restaurants, supermarkets, everything's right there. We do think we can make that pedestrian crossing, which is there now, even better, safer with the right lights and timing and technology. So on paper, it looks a lot worse on paper, I think, than when you look at the renderings and think about the 26 feet and the 2 stories of underground parking that we're putting under the building, would be our developer's response.
Yeah, and again, I think it's because it's Nordblum, and you've done us right by the town so far. You've been a good partner with us.
Thank you.
And we've grown with you, and you've grown with us. So that's what gives me pause and confidence that it's going to be a good project in the end. So, and that's ultimately what sways me back to being in favor. I know there's going to be a lot of concern. I know the initial concern, the sticker shock when you first see it is large.
Yes, yeah.
But so was Third Ave when we started that.
That's also, Mr. Chairman, why we've spent the time and the money to produce actual photo renderings of the proposed building. And for those of you old enough to remember WYSIWYG, which is what you see is what you get, we're showing town meeting the building. It's not kind of sort of like the building. It is the building that we will build if we're so lucky to get approved.
Yeah, and I also want to add my kudos to everybody involved with the development agreement. I think it's excellent. I read it, and I think it's fair, and it will benefit the town. So I know there was a lot of hard work put into that, so kudos to members of planning and economic development. And Sarah, I think you helped with it?
Yep.
And administration and your team also, for everyone coming, and Lisa, sorry.
That's all right.
Everyone coming together, this is how it's supposed to work.
Right.
This is how it's supposed to get done, is everybody getting together and putting our heads together and making it fair for everyone, and you give a little to get a little, and we've come to an agreement. So I love to see that stuff, and another reason why I'm in favor of it. So are there any other questions or comments we want to add before we
I'll
take?
just add one more thing.
Sure.
So I think if we hadn't come to an agreement on the community benefits, and there was a lot of back and forth and a lot of negotiating, it was quite a process. Without that agreement, I don't know that I would have felt comfortable supporting this. Zoning relief to this extent is a value to the developer. It is a concession from the town to allow that. And without a fair return, I wouldn't have been in favor of supporting it. But with it, I am. And, just looking at the project itself, I do think it makes sense in that area to bring it back to life. Across the street, it's doing great. On the other side of Middlesex Turnpike, it's a little dismal. And, as we just offered our support to a $340 million project for the high school, as a board, it is part of our responsibility to ensure that our commercial base remains strong. This helps that, and that we continue to grow responsibly to help offset the burden, the overall tax burden on our residents. So, all that said, I am in favor of this article.
Anyone else?
Thank you. If I may, just one more tiny point. We have done a full fiscal impact study, which we've provided to the town, which is showing something like $375,000 per year in net new taxes above what's there today.
That's a one-time
plus a $750,000 building permit, which we have to file a project like this. And this wouldn't happen right away. If we're lucky enough to get through town meeting, we need to go through the whole site plan, planning board, Concom, design the building. It'd take a year to get through that, probably another year to design the building, and then we have to build the building, which would probably take 2 years. So it's a long process before you'll see anything out there.
But it's an opportunity to be proactive, as I said earlier, to look at things and say, okay, we have something that no one else has. The state is focused on this. Can we work with the state to say, basically, if you want to advocate this policy, you have a town that is creating housing in the appropriate location, you should work with that town to address other issues. And I think we discussed that during the negotiations, but I think that's our commitment. And, you know, they did spend a lot of money to get to this point in terms of design, so they're willing to do it right.
I think they're going to love this plan up on Beacon Hill, so.
What's that?
I think they'll love this plan on Beacon Hill.
They will.
But if I could just, one more indulgence, I want to thank the committee, I want to thank town council, I want to thank the boards. It was a long process, a lot of issues, a lot of serious discussions, but the one thing I always say, if everyone acts professionally, you can get things done. Compliments to the town.
All right. With that, Mr. Denise.
So, Mr. Chairman, I won't repeat everything everyone said, and I agree with everything everyone said, and I also want to thank the planning board for postponing their meeting last week to allow us to get this in place before they ultimately vote on the zoning change at their meeting on Thursday. And then I just wanted to reiterate, we have two things to approve tonight, to take a vote on Article 12, and then also to approve the development agreement, so you can all sign it.
Two separate motions.
Yeah, I would do separate.
John, is it possible to, I know it's two separate votes, but do one right after the other?
Yeah, I would say we'll stop after Article 12, move on to that development agreement item, get that voted, and then we can go back to the other things after. That way, folks that don't need to be here can take off.
With that, I'll take a motion, the first of two motions.
I'll make a motion, we support Article 12, support Article 12's amendment as presented.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Chair is also an aye. That's 5-0.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion, we approve the development agreement that was
As presented.
as submitted.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Chair is also aye. That's also 5-0. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
Mr. Buckley, if you can have a signed, I'll send you this exhibit, but have the signed development agreement here before Thursday?
Yep, with the new exhibit.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you all.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Lisa.
Moving right along, we're going to discuss Article 4, funding the election costs for a debt exclusion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this article was submitted by the administration because, as you know, Article 3, if approved, will be contingent on a debt exclusion election. So we wanted to put an article in to transfer, or to appropriate some money to fund that election. So we originally had put it in at $30,000, which was the estimate of what it cost for us to run an election. Through some more detailed number crunching, it probably will likely cost us more than that, but the idea is for us to submit that number. If this is approved at town meeting, have the election, figure out what the final costs are, figure out if there's any reimbursement, figure out where we are with the budget as a whole, and then, if needed, come back and ask for some more money at a later date. We don't yet know. I mean, the estimates are somewhere about $45,000. The reason being is we have the yes and no statements that need to be mailed to every registered voter. We also want to make sure we have ballots for an election of something of such importance. We expect the turnout to be, or we hope the turnout will be great, so there's an added cost there. So that's where we are now with this article. This will be a transfer from free cash, which has been certified.
Any questions or comments on that?
If I may.
Sure.
Okay. So just as a point of context, I learned that last time we had an exclusion vote, we had 50% of the community turnout compared to our average 12 to 15% on a regular voting cycle.
Wait, sorry, can you repeat that? You said in past
Nick, can you
exclusion?
speak?
Sorry. I don't know, as I get older, I'm getting quieter. I don't know what's happening.
April Fool's, right?
That hasn't been my experience.
So the last time we went up against a debt exclusion for Memorial, there was a 50% turnout.
And I have a question. Was that a special election?
I don't think it was, but I don't know.
You think it was an April election?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, just
couldn't
curious.
tell ya.
I don't remember, but I know it wasn't for 335 million, so.
Was that for was it Marshall Simons?
It was Memorial, I think it was, which is what had failed at that time.
2011.
Yeah. So I believe that's where the additional dollars for the ballots are coming from. But that being said, regardless of the cost, I've been against a special election from the jump, so I'll be voting no against this.
Any other questions or comments? No. Jim, do you have any questions or comments on the
Special election?
special election? Okay. Well, that was a surprise. I thought it was 20 grand, but now it's going to be bumped up to 45 grand, but I am still in favor of moving forward, so with that, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the town meeting warrant Article 4 to fund election costs for debt exclusion.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Chair is aye, so that is 4-1. Moving on to Article 6, funding the police command officer's contract.
Just before we move on that, we'll share a document with the schedule and timing of what we need to do to get that special election called. The plan, which we've talked about at a meeting before, is for us to see what happens next Monday night, have a meeting scheduled for next Tuesday, daytime, in order with just the one agenda item would be to call for the election, and along with the ballot question. So we'll map that all out and have that ready for next Monday. Good.
Question on that. So the vote that we're taking, assuming this passes town meeting, is a vote to set the election date, right? Because we're required to hold the election regardless at this point.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. If it's passed, we have to have an election.
We have to have the election.
And the reason we're doing it after, because if we did it ahead of time, if it failed, we would still
We
have.
still have an election. Right, okay.
Moving right along, Article 6, funding the police command officer's contract. Mr. Denizio?
Thank you very much. So Article 6 and 7 are our two police unions, the command officers and the patrol. I know I shared a memo that sort of outlined where we wound up. It was in the folder that you can see. We're very happy with the agreements. I can get into details of each, or I can sort of just a quick overview, and thank you to both the union side and to Patrick and some folks over here that participated in the process. It's not always the easiest process, collective bargaining. I think there's a lot of times everyone comes out with some hurt feelings, and that wasn't the case this time, so that's great. I think it was a real opportunity for us as far as the patrolmen. If you don't mind, I'll just cover both of them together, and then we can vote them separate.
Sure.
With the patrolmen, we had, there was a change in the civil service law that added a complexity to us that hadn't existed before. As you all know, we're not a civil service department. We came out some time ago. And what happened in the change was it allowed, in 2024, they changed the law that allowed for departments that are civil service to hire away from non-civil service departments certified police officers. So what we had seen was that had happened in a few cases to us and had posed a real problem. So when we dug in and we talked to the unions and we said, okay, where do we want to concentrate? You know, we only have a certain pool of money. how can we concentrate some of that money in the areas to make us more competitive in any areas where we weren't competitive? And when we dug into the data, it was true. We were at the lowest, the newest steps. When you were first hired and then in your first couple of years, we were 10th place out of the dozen districts we compare ourselves to. Not great. And then we were very competitive as you moved along in your career. Well, when you've been here a while, you're not going to leave for another department. The people that would leave for another department are those newbies. So we did concentrate to spend some money in that area and make some changes to the contract that will help us remain competitive in that area and not have to worry about that. At least if someone was going to leave under that rule, it likely wouldn't be for money. So that was great, some of the ways to do that. So our other contracts, you may know, both the teachers' contracts and our contracts that we were settled in May were 3.5%, which was a very favorable contract for both the market and for the town. So we were operating under those limitations, and we were able to do lower general wage adjustments, but then key in on adjusting areas of concern for like I said, for the patrol. It was for those newer folks and making a change to the educational incentive that helped us there. And then with the command officers, again, with a little bit lower wage adjustments that were listed on your memo, but then also trying to equalize increases in steps. Some unions have a step every year, and the steps are a certain percent. In our public safety unions, the steps are further apart as you get more along in the scale, and they ranged in different levels. So one of the areas for that union that was important to them was to sort of equalize those out over the life of the contract. So I think that's, if I missed anything, Patrick, feel free to.
Good overview.
So what you'll see, again, important to point out is this doesn't increase the budget at all. The amount for this was budgeted when we set the budget back in May. It's in negotiated settlements, which is what we do when we don't have a settled contract. We budget it in there. Then we come back when we do finalize the contract, and we ask to transfer it from negotiated settlements into the police department budget. And that would happen if approved at town meeting, and then we would pay those new rates to folks after town meeting and retro pay. These would be effective for July 1st.
Any questions or comments? I also would like to thank Patrick and administration for all the hard work you did in this. I know the gap was wide walking in, and I was really worried about it, but it was taken care of swiftly, and I'm glad we were able to come to an agreement. So with that, I'll take a motion.
Make a motion on Article 6, funding Burlington Police Command Officers contract.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Chair is also aye. That's 5-0.
Make a motion to approve Article 7, Burlington Police funding patrolman's contract.
Second.
Motion is made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Chair is also.
Nope,
Oop.
I have to abstain.
Oops, sorry. And the chair is also an aye, so that's 4-0-1. All right. Are there any other articles anyone wants to discuss? All right, moving on.
Oh, nothing.
Do you do?
I don't.
Okay, moving right along. We are on to subcommittee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Public Arts Committee had an event this past Saturday. It was to introduce the new pathway to the residents. Not our biggest turnout, because at this time of year, a lot of the parents mentioned there's conflicts with soccer, T-ball, all this stuff. So the usual, things that happen when you have kids. So, but it was still a nice event. Jonathan Sachs began at the fire town hall annex, and they explained every sculpture through the pathway until they got down to Havoc, the canine. And then after they had cookies, they had face painter, balloon artist. So it was a very nice event. It was 10 o'clock on Saturday. Weather was perfect. The other thing I want to mention is this Thursday, there is a benefit for the Burlington Community Scholarship Foundation. It's Burlington Police Department versus Burlington Fire Department, 6 p.m., Marvin Field, softball game, first one ever. Tickets are very reasonable. You can find out more information on the Burlington Community Scholarship Fund website, and hopefully it'll be the start of a new tradition. Again, it's a fundraiser for the community, the scholarships. And just another Burlington event that starts and hopefully will return.
Here you can, the kids can throw water balloons at the losing team.
That's right. I forgot to mention that. Thank you for reminding me. The losing team, the kids that are there get to throw water balloons. And I'm not playing, so I hope it's a nice cold night.
There you go.
Leave it at that.
Nick?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple things to talk about. One, I'll be bringing forward some additional information around double polls, so we can have a discussion around that. In the time that I last provided an update last week or 2 weeks ago, I've since reached out to neighboring select boards of neighboring towns to see if they're trying to combat this in any way, or if we should be having more regional conversations about how to combat this, knowing that our hands seem to be tied, but we'll see what comes of that, and then, hopefully at our next meeting, I can report more on that, perhaps even as an agenda item. Had the opportunity to go to last week's beer garden event. I know I saw a lot of folks there. Not that we spend all our time lauding or patting ourselves or our team on the back, but, Melissa and Kelly do fantastic work as our economic development team. Once again, the beer garden was packed. We had food trucks, we had obviously the beer vendor, we had a ton of local businesses. I barely recognized anybody there, which shows me that it's not just us who are closest to knowing about it showing up to these things anymore, right? We've got a massive amount of people coming who are, actual community members who are engaging in a community event, which is exactly what we want to be seeing. The mobile art station was there, and again, looks fantastic. I know I kind of naysayed it at the start, but people were over looking at the art, doing their thing, enjoying it, which is fantastic. Lastly, I just want to note, and I'm excited to talk about this, and any chance I get between now and we actually appoint her, I want to talk about this. We have gone through the process of posting and interviewing for and extending an offer to someone for the new communications officer role. As you all know, I have been championing this for literally my entire time on the board, so 6.5 years now, and we're here, right? We've managed to convince everyone it's a good idea. We've gone out and found a person to do it. I think she's going to be absolutely fantastic. This is kind of the key that the Collins report and a lot of the conversations we've had as community members has kind of come back to as the pivotal, linchpin to opening the door to other things that we want to be doing when it comes to communications, whether it be, voter turnout or engagement, bringing the community together, standardizing how we express ourselves as a community to the rest of the world. So I am incredibly excited that we're here. I cannot wait to have this person hit the ground running. And to see what, the next year, 2 years brings us with this role in place. So I want to thank everyone who's a part of the hiring committee. I want to thank everyone who's engaged in this process. I want to thank town meeting and Ways and Means and everybody who, despite kind of being concerned, said yes. And let our presentations and our discussions lead that decision making. And I'm super excited to have this person in that role. So with that, I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. I saw you at the beer garden.
I saw you too.
Sarah?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple updates. For Council on Aging, it is National Senior Center Month. So just wanted to give all our gratitude to Marge Yetman and the team at our Council on Aging for all they do for Burlington seniors. They're a huge asset to the community. They provide, a valuable service to our seniors. So many options for classes and events and meals and connections. So if anyone has questions on how they can use those resources, feel free to reach out to Marge and her team at our Council on Aging. For Board of Health, they are holding a flu clinic Saturday, October 4th from 9:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at Grandview Farm. You can go to their website to make an appointment. And then lastly, for DPW, the traffic light at Mountain Road and Wynn Street is finally going in. Work has started over there and will continue for the next several weeks. So be prepared for some headache for the next few weeks in that area, but overall, I think that's going to be a huge benefit to that Mountain Road neighborhood. So that's all. Thank you.
Joe?
Just real quick, we had the Hunter proficiency test on Saturday, and it was very nice to see Eileen come. She was there, she sat down, she watched what happened, how it all took place. She had a million questions, and we gave her a million answers. I think she was very happy with the way everything was run. Other than that, there was 16 total people. No one failed. One guy didn't show up, so he's out. Don't forget to take the bus to school and stop watering your grass.
Thank you. I have a couple things. Saturday, I missed it, but it was September 20th was National Thank a Police Officer Day, and I want to extend my thanks to our men and women in blue that do so much for our community and keep us safe. I meet with the chief, try to meet with him on a monthly basis, and met with him on Friday, and I told him that I believe we have one of the best police forces in the Commonwealth, and that we're very lucky. And I do believe that, and I let the chief know on Friday, but I didn't make any post or say anything on Saturday that I missed it, so I want to do that now. Lastly, on Friday, we're going to have the People Helping People Burlington Feud, so. Saturday, right, good thing you told me. Saturday's the People Helping People Burlington Feud, and your favorite select board is going to win the competition, hopefully this year, as opposed to our second place finished last year. So looking forward to that event Saturday, and look forward to seeing everyone over there. In that, I'll move it on to Town Administrator report.
Most of my stuff was covered. I'll just add two pieces. One of the events at the COA was an open house last Thursday? Wednesday, and Patrick and I got a chance to go over and see it in operation, and they were very excited with not only the amount of people they had, but the amount of folks that were there for the first time. So that's great news. As you've all been over there, you know what great work they do. So I just wanted to give them a plug. And then also, we'll have more information at our next couple meetings, but if you're looking for relief from the traffic on Mountain Road during that construction, there will be also a water main drainage project that's going on at Cambridge and Bedford, where Cambridge Street meets Cambridge Road and South Bedford meets Bedford Road. That probably the worst intersection in town. That should be starting at some point in October. The Woburn is obviously owns that and will be doing the project, but had given us a heads up since it's likely to affect traffic in our town. So as soon as they share the detours that will be in place with us, Brian will share them with, the public, however we can. But there's no exact date yet, but it's expected to be in October to begin.
Speaking of Woburn, congratulations to our football team for defeating Woburn in the Battle of Wynn Street, second year in a row.
I thought we were going to get by without saying that.
Good job, gents. All right, with that, I'll take a motion.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Chairs 5-0. 4-1, meeting's adjourned.
Do we need to sign that agreement?